The observation deck of the Covenant's Edge hummed with the low thrum of displaced space as Captain Mira Solon knelt on the cold metal floor, her hand extended toward 3 sets of luminous amber eyes. The Cathara cubs circled her cautiously, their obsidian scales catching the artificial light like fragments of a shattered night sky. Tharok stood at the far end of the chamber, his massive frame rigid with barely contained tension. His secondary arms twitched involuntarily, an instinctive response his species had evolved over millennia of predatory dominance. Every fiber of his being screamed that what he was witnessing violated the fundamental laws of survival. Captain Solon, his voice rumbled through his translator, the device struggling to capture the layers of warning in his native tongue. Step away from the young ones. Their bite carries venom that could liquefy your internal organs within minutes. Mira didn't move. She kept her hands steady, palm upward, fingers relaxed. The smallest cub, barely larger than a terrier, crept forward. Its forked tongue tasted the air, sampling the chemical signature of this strange, soft-skinned creature that smelled of copper and salt and something else entirely foreign. "I know," Mira said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "You told me 3 times already, Tharok." The cub's snout touched her palm. Tharok's combat claws extended involuntarily, scraping against the deck plating with a sound like swords being drawn. His crew had fought the Cathara for 7 generations. His grandfather's grandfather had lost an entire battalion to a Cathara hunting pack. And now this human, this impossibly fragile being from a world with laughably low gravity and embarrassingly weak predators, was offering herself as prey. The cub's jaws opened, revealing rows of crystalline teeth designed to pierce battle armor. It closed its mouth around Mira's fingers. Tharok lunged forward but froze mid-step. The human hadn't flinched. She wasn't screaming. She wasn't even breathing hard. The cub was gnawing on her hand with the playful intensity of a juvenile testing its developing bite force. And Mira simply, "Let it." "This is madness," Tharok hissed, though he found himself unable to move closer or look away. No Cathara would allow another species this close to their offspring. No Cathara would dare approach another's young without expecting death. The other 2 cubs, emboldened by their siblings' bravery, approached. One began chewing on Mira's sleeve, while the third investigated her boots with curious nips. Their teeth left shallow indentations in the synthetic fabric of her uniform, but their venom sacs remained sealed, a sign of play, not aggression. Mira's lips curved into a small smile. "On Earth we had wolves, ancestors of our companion animals, apex predators with bite forces that could crush bone." She kept her voice level, soothing, as the smallest cub decided her thumb was the perfect chew toy. 10,000 years ago my ancestors did something unthinkable too. They approached the cubs. They fed them. They earned trust not through strength but through patience. "Wolves," Tharok repeated, accessing his database through his neural link. The information cascaded across his vision. Canis lupus, extinct in the wild, but its descendants, Canis familiaris, numbered in the hundreds of millions across human worlds. Domesticated, companions, friends. The concept made his blood run cold. "You enslaved them," he said, searching for understanding in familiar terms. "No." Mira's hand shifted slightly, allowing the middle cub better access to her wrist. "We became family. It took generations, but fear turned to curiosity. Curiosity to comfort and comfort to love." She looked up at him then, her brown eyes meeting his 4 amber ones. "I'm not trying to enslave your people, Tharok. I'm trying to show you another way." The alpha's mandibles clicked in agitation, a gesture that translated roughly to incredulous laughter in his culture. "We have killed each other for resources, for territory, for honor, for 300 cycles. The Cathara see us as prey thieves. We see them as nest raiders. And you think you can undo centuries of bloodshed by letting their young gnaw on you? I think," Mira said carefully as the cubs began to tire and curl up around her legs, their body heat seeping through her uniform, "that every war ends the same way. Either everyone dies or someone decides to be vulnerable first." The smallest cub yawned, its venomous fangs retracting into sheaths. It rested its head on Mira's knee, already drifting into sleep. The ancient, instinctive part of Tharok's brain recognized the posture. Absolute trust, the kind a juvenile showed only to its blood parents or pack leaders. "This is unthinkable," Tharok whispered. But the word carried less conviction now. Mira began to hum, a low melody from Earth, something about stars and dreams. The cub's breathing synchronized with the rhythm. "Every impossible thing is unthinkable," she said, "until someone thinks it anyway." Tharok's combat claws retracted slowly. He approached, each step deliberate, and lowered himself to the deck. The cubs didn't stir. At this distance he could smell Mira's scent, sweet and strange, utterly alien. He could see the small wounds on her hand where teeth had pressed too hard, drawing tiny beads of blood that the cubs had instinctively avoided lapping up. Some primitive recognition that this creature's chemistry was wrong for consumption. "The Cathara Council will arrive tomorrow," he said finally. "They come expecting to finalize terms of mutual destruction." "Then let's show them this instead," Mira replied. She met his gaze again, and Tharok saw something in those human eyes that his species had no word for. A stubborn, irrational commitment to hope that defied every tactical analysis, every strategic projection. It was the most terrifying thing he had ever witnessed. It was also, perhaps, the bravest. The cubs slept on, dreaming their puppy dreams, while a human and a former enemy sat in silence, guarding them together. Outside the viewport, stars wheeled through the endless dark, indifferent to the impossible bridge being built in their light. Tharok's translator crackled as he spoke again. "If this works, if the cubs' parents see this and do not kill you immediately, my people will have to rewrite our entire understanding of strength." Mira smiled, exhausted but unbroken. "Good, maybe it's time." In the morning, when the Cathara delegation arrived bristling with weapons and fury, they found their cubs sleeping peacefully in the arms of a human who sang them lullabies in a language they couldn't understand, but somehow felt in their bones. And for the first time in 300 years, not a single shot was fired. The unthinkable had become reality, one gentle gesture at a time, because that's what humans did best. They looked at the impossible and said, "Watch me."